Our guest today on Meet the Press, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
Expose the evils of poverty, murders, terror, bombings, police brutality. Unmerited suffering is redemption. Voting rights, economic boycott, moral confrontation, massive civil disobedience.
God bless you. Good morning. Get woke. A special segment of MIP, Make It Plain. As always, God bless you. Good morning. Get woke. A special segment of MIP, as always, on these Fridays. If it's Friday,
it is Meet the Black Press. How you doing, Mark?
Fine, brother. We're joined, as always, by the Reverend Dr. Benjamin F. Chavis, Jr., the president of the National Newspaper Publishers Association. How you doing, Ben? How you feeling, brother?
I'm doing fine, man. This is another day that the Lord has made, and always pleased to be on Make It Plain. You know, Meet the Black Press. A lot is going on in Black America. A lot of positive things, actually, in spite of the death and deadly COVID-19 pandemic that still disproportionately impacts Black America.
Indeed. So let's get right into it. Something just happened, or was just aired this morning, I believe. Yes. Joe Biden was on Charlemagne the God show, The Breakfast Club, and want to play a little bit of how that conversation between the two of them ended, and get your reaction. And others, those of you who want to join us in the chat, whatever medium you're watching on, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, your comments are welcome. But take a listen to Joe Biden, if you would, everyone.
Well, thanks so much. That's really our time. I apologize.
Oh, wait a minute. That's the wrong one. I had the clip set up, Ben. Wait a minute. Something else is going on here. Oh, no, that was right. Someone was telling them to wrap it up.
That's what it was. Can't do that to black media.
I can't do that to white media and black media because my wife has to go on at 6 o'clock.
So Joe, just to set the context, Joe Biden had to go, and someone was saying to Charlemagne to wrap it up.
Okay.
I'm in trouble.
Listen, you got to come see us when you come to New York, VP Biden.
I will.
It's a long way until November. We got more questions.
You got more questions, but I tell you, if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, then you ain't black.
It don't have nothing.
Wow. If you have a problem figuring out whether you for me or Trump, you ain't black.
You're for me or Trump, and you ain't black.
Dr. Chavis, a lot of people have a lot of reactions to that. What are your thoughts?
Well, thank you very much, and I think people should react, but I hope that people will react favorably. First of all, the Breakfast Club, Charlemagne the God, he always asks pointed questions. You know, Charlemagne does not take any prisoners. He's a great brother. But the Vice President of the United States, former Vice President Joe Biden, you know, he's a street fighter. He comes from Wilmington, Delaware. He also doesn't take any punches. He punched right back. Charlemagne asked him a question, and before he could get the question out, Joe Biden said, well, if you ain't black, if you're not voting for me, you're not black. Remember, Charlemagne broached it first by saying, you got to come on my program, got a lot of time, got more questions. And then Joe said, well, if you got questions about who to vote for, Trump or me, you ain't black if you ain't voting for me. That's what he was saying. And he was speaking directly to Charlemagne.
Keith Boykin tweeted about 20 minutes ago, somebody needs to tell Joe Biden that this comment to Charlemagne was a mistake. Yes, Biden is a much better choice for black people than racist Trump, but white people don't get to tell black people what is black. Biden still has to earn our vote. What's your reaction to that? That's how it's being taken. Who is Biden to say who's black or not?
Again, you know, everybody, one of the great things about freedom of speech, everybody has it. One of the things about the freedom of the press, you can choose where you want the white press, the black press, Latino press. That's your choice. But I would say that, um, you know, it's okay for white people to comment on what's black and what's not. It's okay for black people to comment on what's white and what's not. The question is, um, this is an issue of the current administration versus a possible new administration. And what black people have to decide is not all of the prerequisites, but given what we know today, in May 2020, today, what is our aspirations? Who can best improve our quality of life? That's the issue. I think sometimes we get caught up into personality politics or rhetorical politics without dealing with the substance of what is being done. So I think that hopefully Vice President Biden will go back on the Breakfast Club. In fact, I think Vice President Biden ought to come on, make it plain. We've had him, on the black press. We're going to get him back because, I think I would rather have a president that speaks from the heart, that speaks from the gut, than a president that speaks from a teleprompter. Where you hear it sounds right, it sounds so nice, but is that really what the guy's thinking? I want to know what Vice President Biden is thinking about black people, about white people, about Latino people, about the oneness of humanity. And I would prefer to hear what he thinks rather than to try to muffle him or to stifle giving his self-expression. I think that one of the greatest things about hip hop is that it's freedom of expression. But I tell artists all the time, you have to be responsible for what you put out. You have freedom to say whatever you want to say, but after you say it, you got to be accountable for what you say.
So, as we all know, we've been in prayer for our elder comrade, Dr. Conrad Worrell, the chairman emeritus of the National Black United Front.
Great man. You and I spoke to him when he was in the hospital, and I hope that he's doing better and recuperating. The Honorable Conrad Worrell, the distinguished chair emeritus of the National Black United Front.
So I spoke to Conrad just yesterday. He was in the car being driven home from the hospital. And now, folks, Dr. Conrad Worrell, as Joy Reid calls him, the OG. You can't be more, at this moment, more black nationalist than Conrad Worrell. That's his history. He has been the ultimate black nationalist and Pan-Africanist, no question about it. When I spoke to him yesterday, this is what he said to me. He said, Matsamela, people, especially young people, need to put their differences aside. Now Conrad used more colorful language than I'm going to use right now. But he said, we need to get ourselves together, put all petty stuff aside, and do whatever we can to beat this MF Trump. I mean, that's what he was very passionate, very sincere about it. And he was emotional because he's been sick. And so hearing that from an elder like him, you almost have to wonder whether we should make too big of a deal out of what Biden said. Now, as a white person, maybe he shouldn't have said it. But not having the right to say something does not make it untrue. Does not make it untrue.
Keep in mind, Joe Biden was speaking. But Joe Biden was speaking for himself. He wasn't speaking for white America. That was Joe Biden speaking. I mean, Charlemagne asked the question. He wasn't asking a question on behalf of all black. That was Charlemagne was posing the question. And I think sometimes we extrapolate what people say over the whole race or over the whole context. And I think I want to see more engagement. I'm glad Charlemagne asked him a tough question, and I'm glad Joe Biden gave him a tough answer. I think that's life. We got to move on. And I think what our elder Conrad Worrell said is that, look, stop looking for the exit sign. A lot of times we sit around and wait and see. We search social media, see what people are saying and not saying. And then as soon as we find out the least little thing, I'm out, there you go. No. This is a struggle. When we say a luta continuity, you know what the definition of a struggle is? It's not easy. It's hard. It's arduous. Sometimes it's full of disappointment. Sometimes it's full of letdown. But you don't let yourself down. If you get knocked down, you get up. If somebody says something that pisses you off, you brush it, you get it, but you don't leave the movement because somebody says something that you don't like. I wish the struggle was that easy, where if somebody makes a comment, then we say, oh, that's my excuse to not get involved. What Comrade Well is saying, we ain't got no excuses. We got to get out and vote and vote and vote and vote and vote.
And this too may have some helpful consequences, because if people are bothered by it, they're going to challenge him more, and then he's going to have to continue to speak more to the black community.
Absolutely,
because
Mark, in the Bible and in the Quran it says trial and tribulation is for purification. So hey, bring it on. Let's get deep. Let's get under the surface of the traditional American politics. But whoever gets to the White House, we need to know who they are before they get there. Mm-hmm. We need to know what they're thinking, what their aspirations are, who their relationships are. And it's not just the platform of the party, but it's the person. And I think one of the things we learned for 8 years of President Barack Obama, a lot of people had thoughts and aspirations, but once he got in there, he felt that he had to be the president that he thought was best, not only to serve Black America, but to all Americans and to all people in the world. And a lot of people also got, as you remember, Mark, got perturbed because they didn't think that the former president was as Black as he should have been. Well, again, everybody's entitled to those opinions. But at the end of the day, we need to know in 2020 who we're voting for, why we're voting for them, and what will be the consequences of voting and what would be the consequences of not voting.
I'm hearing that disaffected Sanders supporters are using this statement to jump on Joe Biden.
Well, again, but why? But that's what I'm saying. Why? Okay, are you're not jumping on Trump? I mean, that's what I'm saying. See, there's something on the progressive left that is counterproductive. Again, we look for small things. We make small things mountains. We make something that may be a gaffe. We turn it into a political debate. While Black people are dying, while we're having this show right now, Mark, we got brothers and sisters who are dying because they don't have a respirator, they don't have a ventilator, they don't have a mask, they don't have ability to get fresh food or fresh water or breathe fresh air. They're dying, and that's what we should be focusing
on. Some people, and let's be honest, folks, we got a lot of ops running on social media right now. And again, some of these we know.
Well, I hope this is on social media too. I think. Again,
oh no, it is. It is. No,
I'm
it
not
is.
knocking social media, but my thing is, Mark, and that's one of the benefits of having your program, is that it's one thing to engage the issues, one thing even to debate the issues, but after we engage and after we debate, what do we do? And the last thing we need right now is some kind of self-paralysis, some kind of self-justification not to do anything, to engage in frustration, to engage in utter do-nothingness. That's what we don't need.
So I just want to share a couple of other reactions with you. Someone tweeted, "You can't name a single time Trump said something this racist towards Black people. I can. Biden is literally claiming ownership of Black voters." And again, folks, there are a lot of ops running. A lot of these accounts, we don't know who they are. I'll just put it that way. At Left Behind USA. I don't know about this account or where it comes from, but I'm going to read it. Joe Biden's comments toward Black people this morning are disqualifying. We're calling on Joe Biden to drop out of the presidential race or the DNC to drop him. There's no way I will vote for a racist who thinks you ain't Black is an acceptable thing to say. Someone else wrote under the name Uppity Black Woman at LUVSCURE1. Trump asked, "What did we have to lose? Countless Black people are dead from COVID-19, so it seems like some of us lost our lives and loved ones. I don't care. I'm voting for Biden." And here's one more I want to read. Peaceful Oppo at FXXMXXLXX. He was not my first choice. Kamala was my first choice. But now Joe Biden is the only choice, and Trump does hate Black folks. Google Trump, no vacancies for Blacks. but sure, let's make Biden the racist DICK and all of this. So it's a lot of back and forth, Ben.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's to be expected. My thing is, I welcome the debate. I welcome the dialogue. But at the end of the day, I want to know what it is we can all do together to improve the quality of life of people in our community and improve the quality of life of all humanity. That's why we have the Black Press. We're going to be relentless following this election 2020. We're going to be relentless following the daily impact of COVID-19 on our community. I'm so pleased that we're raising up a generation of millennials. Just had this fabulous interview with Ice Cube yesterday, live, where we not only talked about the movie, The High Note, that's coming out on May 29th, but he talked about the importance, Mark, of culture. He talked about the importance of knowing who we are as a people and speaking out of that context as a people as we struggle for freedom, justice, and equality. This is also the 25th anniversary of the Million Man March. Ain't nobody talking about it much, but that was a turning point day for us. Where we turn to one another to not only lower black on black crime in our community, but we turn to one another to build our own businesses, register over 250,000 new brothers and sisters to vote, and to embrace black women like we should be embracing. This is no time for us to have a gender gap, a cultural gap, or an age gap, or any kind of gap in black America. We can have these debates, but don't let these debates make you stand still. Don't let these debates kill your spirit. Don't let these debates make you join the obsolete where you just kind of fall out of things. And then we expect, how do we wind up with another 4 more years?
Well, the other thing, too, is we know that Trump won last time as a result, really with less than 100,000 votes across 3 states. And
that's correct.
And and
voter suppression was real
right
in 2016. And voter suppression is real in 2020.
And
we got to deal with it.
And so the fact that in some of those battleground states, our people, once again, are dying disproportionately, those are votes we may lose. Those may be votes we won't have in November.
Right. I saw the mayor of Montgomery, young brother, black mayor of Montgomery, Alabama, saying, the thing is spiking in Alabama, and they don't have enough hospital beds. They don't have enough masks. They don't have enough PPE. They don't have a lot of this stuff. So, I think that what we have to do, Mark, is continue to pursue the truth, continue to involve ourselves in those things that uplift our communities and our people, but also be very, very pointed, very, very clear, very, very unmitigated in our aspirations to make sure that we have greater political power, greater economic power. We need to use our culture. We need to use our black-owned businesses like our black newspapers, our black-owned media, and we need to keep pushing forward. I'm kind of optimistic because I see young people today channeling their restlessness, channeling their disappointments into a constructive modus operandi. I see young people getting involved not only around the COVID-19 and trying to raise them money to make sure that healthcare workers and first responders have adequate equipment, but I just see this kind of sense of engagement rather than disengagement. To me, that's the issue, Mark. Are we going to be engaged in the political process, or are we going to be disengaged? That is the question.
Yeah. Do you think that Joe Biden owes the black community so, in a sense, and that is why he should pick a black woman running mate?
Well, it's my understanding that, it's his decision, but I understand that there are several black women, not one, on his list that are going to start being interviewed as of next week. So what the ultimate decision he makes, I'm sure he will make the right decision, but I would love to see a black woman be the vice presidential candidate and then become the first black woman to be president of the United States after serving Joe Biden for 4 years. So there's a lot at stake. It's not only what happens in November 2020, but this is also setting the stage for what happens in November 2024.
Yeah. Ben, tell us a little bit more about your interview with Ice Cube, and I know the movie High Note. Now, what's his role in the movie? Is he in the movie? He produced it, or?
He helped produce it, but he's a co-star of the movie along with Tracy Ellis Ross,
Right.
the great actress in her own right, daughter of Diana Ross. He plays the manager. He's co-host, co-star of the movie. He's managing the sister named Davis, who was played by Tracy Ellis Ross, and she's a high-profile singer. And it's interesting because you get a sense of the cultural dynamics of the entertainment industry, the music industry, which both Ice Cube and Tracy Ellis Ross knows very well. It's not a biopic; it is a drama. It is some uplifting moments. You know, if you think about all the uplifting moments that were in Barbershop or some of the things that Ice Cube has produced in the past, you get that same nuance. In fact, we played the trailer during our interview with him yesterday. The name of the movie is The High Note, starring Ice Cube and Tracy Ellis Ross.
All right. Well, congratulations on you. I saw you with Cube, man. I was like, Ben has still got that street credibility from those
Hey man, you know,
hip hop summer
I'm
days.
an OOG. I'm an OOG. You know, hip hop head all together, you know.
Yeah.
And we gave a shout out, you know, Andre Harrell passed, so we gave a shout out to him on,
Yes,
the,
sir.
on the show. And
Yes, sir.
Also, Ice Cube gave a shout out to Russell Simmons, you know,
Yeah.
as being the godfather of hip hop.
Folks, when Ben was president of NAACP, we would work late hours into the night. And
That's right.
I don't know if you remember this, but you just say, you know, the hip hop artists, the creativity comes late at night, in the middle of the night. So we got to have the same the same spirit, you know. And we might not have been in a recording studio, but we were doing work for the people.
I remember one time I brought Sister Soldier to an NAACP board meeting. We were meeting in New York, Hilton Hotel. I think it was at the November meeting. They always have a fall meeting in New York.
Right.
And Soldier was getting down, and there was a little apprehensiveness, but by the time Soldier finished, everybody was giving her a standing ovation.
Yeah.
So our young people, our young artists, they need to be embraced. We need to be encouraged. And I think that the forecast, even out of the coronavirus pandemic, Mark, I believe that we can gain strength even while we are going through this terrible situation.
Yeah.
But it requires us to have more unity, more working together, and more showing mutual respect to one another.
So this is what I would say too, Dr. Chavis. And I was a youth activist, you know, more than half of my life, and now I'm, you know, easing to the other side. I hate to admit it.
You're still a youth activist.
Well, thank you, brother. That's very kind of you. But to me, principally, you know, and I believe in holding the nominee accountable and whatnot. But next time around, we have to be proactive instead of defensive. We have to be offensive. So we, as a people, we determine who the candidate is. We want to be the nominee from the very beginning. Not wait until the nominee comes and then now we're going to do something else. But I think we need to start down that road, because the other things we've done have been successful is when we've been on offense, when we've been proactive. You know, because at this hour, you going up against a man who has allowed and basically made it possible for people to die. And so then you say, well, if Biden ain't everything we want, you know, maybe we're a little too late to do something about it right now. You know, we had black candidates in the race. And again, I'm not putting down anybody holding him accountable. I'm just saying going forward, the way I came up under people like you and Dr. Conrad Worrell, y'all would say to me, Mark, why didn't you get behind the black candidate in the beginning? Why didn't you support the black candidate running for nomination and help that person to become the nominee, or the black persons? You know, so I just think that's the only admonition I would make. Right. That going forward, that's what we have to do.
I think you make an excellent point. I'm going to remind everybody that in 1984, when the Reverend Jesse Louis Jackson announced his candidacy for president of the United States, and then he ran again in 1988, and people say, well, why did we go through that for 8 years? The truth of the matter is, Jesse running in 1984 opened the door for what happened in 2008 when President Barack Obama became president of the United States. This is a long struggle. This is not an overnight struggle. and this is not one presidential campaign. We're talking about a series of presidential campaigns. They're trying to count the census right now. Well, this is not the first census. We were miscounted, 10 years ago, in 2010. And if we're not careful, we're going to be miscounted in 2020. So we have to not just look in the review mirror. We got to look ahead. We got to look straight ahead.
Right.
But we learn from the past, Mark.
Right.
And I think some of these, I remember when that close vote, when President Bush was running against Gore. It was a close election. If more people had come out, and of course they probably stole some of the votes in Florida that year. Everybody was on sitting pins and needles waiting for the final votes to be counted, and they threw out hundreds of thousands of votes. So every vote does count, and particularly in the Black community, our votes count double, not only for today, but we're also voting for all those brothers and sisters who gave their lives, who shed their blood, who are in the grave today to get us the right to vote. And anybody that doesn't vote, I'm not going to say you're not Black, but I am going to say you are a pitiful example of what all of our people have struggled for, and you just throw it away and not being accountable. So the principle of accountability. I think we all have to be accountable to our history, not just know our history, but to be accountable to it. Not just know our culture, but to be accountable to it. And so we are called today to rise to the occasion and not let the contradictions and not even let the disappointments that may happen turn us down or make us become insolent or not involved with the way we should. We got more reasons to be involved than the reasons that some are quoting now not to be involved.
Ben, so I do have to ask you this though: has the Biden campaign or the Democratic Party or the DSCC or the DCCC made an ad buy with Black press, with the Black newspapers, the NNPA, BlackPressUSA.com? We know Bloomberg put up a pretty hefty piece of money when he was in it, but have any of these other entities invested in the Black press?
Yes, the DCCC, Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee, has bought ads in the Black press. The DNC has, and the Biden campaign also has. And they were going they've pledged they're going to actually do more. But also, just to be transparent,
okay,
the Trump people have also bought ads,
okay,
in the Black press. Just to be totally transparent, because I think that there is a contest for the Black vote. I think it's a healthy contest. But I think Black people need to be discerning. We need to apply the principles that you mentioned, Mark, and we should, again, learn from our history. We don't have to repeat it, but we definitely should know and learn from our history.
Another colleague of mine in media, Sam Smith of the Progressive Review, ProRev.com, he said elections really are not about getting the perfect candidate, but about choosing your battlefield.
There you go.
And so do you want to stay on the battlefield with Trump, or do you want to be on the battlefield with Biden, who may be more malleable than Trump to what our demands are? You pick your opponent. It's like having home field advantage in the playoffs.
Right. I would use another analogy. Every time I come in from one of the major airports in New York, whether you're coming in from Kennedy or LaGuardia, you pass by cemeteries. So I'm asking this question. Will there be more of us in the cemetery with one person to vote for, or less of us in the cemetery if you vote the other way? So to me, this election is about life and death. We have a track record now. We know what we're going to vote for. And I think it's a responsibility to make sure that we don't expand the cemeteries in our community.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Indeed. Dr. Chavis, Conrad World was able to publish a column in blackcommentator.com honoring Malcolm X this week.
May 19th. May 19th. Malcolm's birthday, yes.
Your thoughts on Minister Malcolm. And did you get an opportunity to meet Malcolm yourself?
Once, yes. I was back in the early 1960s, yes. As Oscar Davis said in his eulogy, Malcolm X was our shining Black prince. He not only had the ability and the courage to articulate the issues and the challenges that Black Americans were facing. What Brother Malcolm showed in his own life, his own evolution, his own embodiment of the struggle for freedom, justice, and equality, that our struggle was not just a domestic struggle, it was a global struggle, it was an international struggle. And Brother Minister Malcolm went through various evolutions in his own life. So did Martin Luther King go through evolutions in his life. And I think there's no question about it, Mark. If Malcolm X and Martin Luther King Jr. Were not assassinated when they were assassinated in the 1960s, and they would have been permitted to live their life, they'll be working together right now. No question about it.
Yeah, they probably very definitely would have come together. Malcolm X would have been 95 years old, folks, on May 19th. Any other stories we want to lift up at Black Press? Folks, we invite you, of course, to go to blackpressusa.com. Any other stories, of course, the interview with Ice Cube is up there. You can check that out. The Black Crisis in the Midst of Corona. More stories about Ahmaud Arbery. So are the other things we want to lift up right now?
Well, I think, yes, the conferences this summer, while a lot of states are opening up, 17 states right now, Mark, and in these 17 states where a lot of Black people live, the coronavirus is going up. It's not declining.
Yeah.
And some of these are the earliest states, like Texas. We have a large African-American population in the state of Texas. So why is Texas rapidly open up when so they haven't had a decline? You're not supposed to open up until you have 14 days of decline. Well, most of these 17 states where the rates are going up, if they open up too soon, they open up too expansively. And now more of our people are going to die as a result. I really think that some of these governors need to be taken to court. There's something called accessory before the fact of murder, not just after the fact, accessory before the fact. And I think some of these governmental policies at the state levels, Georgia, Florida, Texas, and others, that are opening up too soon, is going to have a deadly impact on Black America. And they need to be called out on it. Yeah,
you're absolutely right. Folks, as always, on these Fridays, we talk to Dr. Chavis live here. Tell a friend, usually around the 10 o'clock hours when we try to get going, at 10 o'clock Eastern. And let's continue to have this conversation, everyone. And I know there'll be a lot of reactions to what Joe Biden said, so there'll be a lot of ongoing debate about that over the course of the weekend. But again, there is no one, if we can talk about history, there is no one right now who has a greater historical memory of Black nationalism, historical memory and involvement than Dr. Conrad Worrell in Chicago, who is literally fighting for his life right now. And for him to say to me that there is nothing more important than getting this devil out of the White House, or this MF as he called him, doesn't leave us a whole lot of room to be dismissive. This is where we are. Should we hold the Biden campaign accountable? Absolutely. But if it starts to get into an area where we might be convinced to stay home or even vote for Trump, that's a very dangerous place to be. So I would just ask us to think very, very carefully about that. And like I said, y'all can look up Dr. Conrad Worrell. He ain't no sellout. Okay. It's social media is not social movement. Social media ain't going to jail with the Wilmington 10 like Dr. Chavis here did. Social media ain't being riddled with bullets at Audubon Ballroom on the balcony of the Lorraine Motel. So I know how important social media is. But what's more important is struggle. And in struggle, sometimes there's a little give and take. There's trouble. There's negotiation, unfortunately. And we got to somehow get back on home field advantage. We're still in the play. Y'all been watching The Last Dance. We're still in the playoffs, but even Michael wanted home field advantage. If Trump remains in the White House, he's got home field advantage over us. If Biden wins, we've got home field advantage over him. See, hear what I'm saying? He's still someone we have to compete against, just like we would in the playoffs. He's still our opponent to some extent, like all presidents are. Ain't no president 100% with us. All right? We are called to hold presidents and people in the title of Pharaoh accountable. But I just would ask us to consider, because I know some of y'all ready to pounce on me, because that's what social media does. And that's the other problem. We use these media to attack one another.
That's right.
Rather than have serious discussions about what is best for our people and being strategic, using strategery, if you will, to figure out what we're going to do. So, when the OG says, Brother Matsmela, you need to tell all these young people, he said this yesterday before Biden even said what he said. And I know he don't agree. Biden probably shouldn't have said it. You don't want to be too familiar. Biden feels he's familiar, because I know Biden's friends. Most of them are black. He, like Jimmy Carter, grew up around black folk. And we've all known some white folks in our lives who seem very comfortable with us, seem to know us, kind of want to be us, Bill Clinton. So I'm just saying that, let's not allow what he said today, think about this very carefully, to allow Trump to continue to have home field advantage. That's all I'm trying to get us to consider. Y'all may ultimately prove me wrong. I don't think so, though, because Trump gets back in. I know I ain't wrong. And if having Trump back in office is wrong, is right. I want to be wrong. No question about it. Dr. Chavis, closing thoughts.
Well, thank you, Mark. I listen very carefully. That's why you have a preacher's license. What you just said is a Friday morning sermon. Thank you. And the audacity to say what you said and the accurateness, the truthfulness of what you said, we salute. I just want to say on behalf of the National Newspaper Publishers Association, on behalf of the Black Press of America at blackpressusa.com, we're very grateful to make it plain. And we hope that what we've discussed over the last hour clears up some issues. I think I would caution us not to be siphoned off into some side places just about what the particular quote that former Vice President Biden said to Charlamagne on the Breakfast Club. It's interesting, it's conversational, but I just want to encourage everyone, let's rise above some of the rhetoric. Let's focus on the real life and death issues that impact the quality of life of our communities, our people. And let's go out and have a record voter turnout at the local level, at the state level, at the congressional level, and at the federal level. We have some responsibilities. Yes, a lot of brothers and sisters gave up their lives so that we can have the right to vote. And we dare not take the right to vote anything less than the right to vote, Mark, being sacred.
Yeah. Dr. Chavis, thank you as always. Folks, go to blackpressusa.com. All y'all mad about Joe Biden? How many of y'all go to blackpressusa.com and support the black press? I'm asking. All right. So, so I just want to be clear. How many of our candidates are you supporting? How many of our businesses? How many blackpressusa.com? So we're going to do the whole thing. We got to do the whole thing. And we do that in honor of Dr. Conrad World, Chairman Emeritus of the National Black United Front. Lord, continue to heal his body. blackpressusa.com. If it's Friday, Dr. Chavis?
Yes, sir. It is Meet the Black Press.
Thank you, Dr. Chavis.
Thank you. God bless.